Hello. In this video, I'm going to go over 3 tips if you have fearful or disorganized attachment style. Now, in my previous videos, I talk more in detail about what a fearful disorganized attachment style is, and I also made a video outlining the 4 general attachment styles. In this video, I'm going to specifically go over the 3 tools that you can practice on your own if you have fearful disorganized attachment style, if you are interested in building a more secure attachment style. Now, with the fearful disorganized attachment style, just as with all the other attachment styles, it is so important to work with someone. So finding a therapist to work through your attachment issues, finding a group to work with will help you earn a more secure attachment style. The reason for that is because your attachment system is only activated when you are in a relationship. So when you are in a partnership with a romantic partner, when you have a very close friend, when you are working with a therapist, any long-term relationship is going to activate your attachment style from various degrees, but specifically when you are in a romantic relationship. And so the best way to help heal your attachment style is to seek a therapist. I also provide one-on-one coaching, and I do work from the attachment lens. But if you are already working with a therapist, or you're thinking about working with a therapist, or you're not at this point for one reason or another, the things that you can use to help yourself, number one is establishing a mindfulness practice. So if you have fearful, disorganized attachment style, you want to be able to identify your patterns of functioning. And your patterns can be extremely tricky. So one of the patterns that people with disorganized or fearful attachment style engage in is sometimes they build a very rich fantasy life. And this happens in childhood. So maybe their parents are emotionally, physically, verbally abusive. Maybe they're not present. And so in childhood, kids begin to dissociate and they begin to build a very rich world. Now, sometimes this translates into romantic relationships as well. I notice a lot of people with this attachment, they form a close bond with a fantasy. So maybe they had a relationship at some point of their life and the relationship fell apart, and they can spend a decade or longer sort of fantasizing about that person, idealizing them. And all their other relationships, all the other people in their life tend to fall short because that fantasy that they built with that person is so beautiful and so ideal, and that person seems to be, in their mind, the only person that understands them. And so what begins to happen is that they don't build bonds with people that are real and available to them in life, always comparing them with that fantasy ideal. And what that helps them do is it helps them to not really engage in deep intimacy. So what they're avoiding is they fear loss, they fear disappointment, and so they use this fantasy of this other mythical person in order to remain distant from all the other partners that are available to them in life. Now, this is very, very tricky, and it's so difficult to break through because the person that is functioning like that, they cannot see it as a negative pattern. They are absolutely 100% convinced that other people fall short and that they just haven't met that very special someone that, like the relationship that they had, something that was very intriguing and, gave them a strong emotional jolt. And so they can spend their whole life living in this fantasy, and it's very difficult to break through. That's why working with somebody can help with that, can help bring these kind of patterns to light. And creating a mindfulness practice, which means spending every single day practicing mindfulness meditation, paying attention to your body, focusing on your breath, establishing some form of relaxation techniques that help you connect with your body, that help you connect with your mind, is going to train you to be able to decipher these patterns, so that when you go, let's say if you have this attachment style, when you begin to go into the fantasy, or if you are with a partner and you feel like they fall short, you are going to get much better at recognizing what is going on with you. Your introspective voice is going to become a lot more concise, a lot more focused, and a lot more accurate. So that is why, if you have this attachment style, number one, most important thing that you can do for yourself, by yourself, you don't need a therapist. You can find a coach to teach you mindfulness meditation. That could definitely help a lot. You can look up various YouTube videos. I'm going to be talking about this a lot more, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel, so that you can start practicing this on a daily basis by yourself to help expand your mind to notice this. Another, pattern, for example, that fearful, disorganized attachment style folks follow is they tend to engage in a lot of promiscuity. So frequently, they find a partner, they begin to form a partnership, they begin to form some intimacy, they become very scared, and what they do is they immediately want to have sex with somebody else, or they start directing their attention onto other people. The reason for that is, once again, because they have difficulty, they're very afraid to attach to their existing partner. So you're going to do everything possible to dilute that intimacy, and you're going to try to find other people to help you do that. Now, once again, it's so difficult to detect because from the outside, it might look like you just want to, increase your sexual gratification. You might think maybe you're not really into this person very much. You might think that you're just like attracted to other people, but underneath it all, well, by the way, all those things could just be true. It might not have anything to do with attachment style. It could just be true. But very frequently, if you sort of search within and you go a little bit deeper, you'll see that underneath it all, what you're experiencing is fear of intimacy, fear of commitment, and it's like your body by itself, your inertia is going to look to sabotage that and to help you stay at a distance, keep a further distance from your potential partner. So once again, it's one of these patterns that is very, very difficult to notice and to decipher by yourself when you're engaging in it, but is going to become much easier if you are able to, on a daily basis, just calm down, and all you have to do is for 15 to 20 minutes, pay full attention to yourself, be in silence, focus on your breath, focus on your breathing, and try to observe your thoughts. If you just keep doing that day in and day out, you're going to start to develop better observation of how you're functioning on a daily basis. So the second tip, if you have a disorganized and avoidant attachment style, is that you need to recognize, so if you have that emotional style, first of all, when you are in a relationship, it's likely that your emotions are overwhelming. Like you have very, very strong reactions, very strong emotions, and this is why it's actually difficult for you to be in a relationship. If you know, when you're not in a relationship, you feel much better, you feel more calm. The reason for that is because, once again, your attachment system is not activated. When your attachment system becomes activated, that is when your emotional outbursts begin to occur. So the second tip is, if you fall into fearful, disorganized attachment and you really need to know this for yourself, you can take the test. I'm going to include the link below the video in the description. If you can really categorize yourself into the fearful, disorganized attachment style, you need to know that you can't exactly trust your emotions. Your emotions could be very strong, they can feel like intuition, and that doesn't mean that you need to ignore them. You definitely need to listen to them, you need to process them, but you really need to understand that they are not exactly, they might not exactly be appropriate to the situation, and if you act upon them, you might destruct the relationship. You might behave in ways that are destructive. So the best thing to do here is to learn to listen to your emotions without acting on them. So you, out of all the other attachment styles, whereas let's say like if you actually have a dismissive attachment style, you're gonna want to listen to your emotions and even more act on them, and like really, really stay with them and be present with them at the moment, with other people, together with other people. Whereas if you fall into the disorganized attachment, you need to really listen to your emotions by yourself, and you might not want to actually process it with your partner. Depending, I mean, you can, depending on the relationship, depending on the dynamic, but you want to take a lot of time by yourself. So anytime that you're experiencing a very, very strong emotion, take a time out. Take a time out to be by yourself, maybe to speak with a therapist, maybe to speak with a close friend, somebody you can trust. Definitely practice a lot of practices that are calming, like breathing, of course, meditating, working out. Get yourself to a place where you feel not so emotionally activated. If you're very emotionally activated, get yourself to a more neutral place, and then from that place, begin to think whether your emotions are appropriate and whether you need to act on them. So try really hard not to act on your emotions. Process them, think about them, take time alone. Out of all the attachment styles too, if you fall into the fearful, disorganized, you fall into the attachment style where you definitely need a lot of alone time away from the relationship, a lot of time out to think about your emotions, to process them. And only when you feel relatively calm is when you want to start making decisions about, if you're in a relationship, what you want to do with the relationship, next steps. If you had a conflict with your significant one, how you want to deal with it. Don't do it in a state of when you're emotionally escalated. Once again, the mindfulness will help you with that, so that you can observe yourself. You can see when you are very when your emotions are elevated versus when you feel in a state of relative calm, and you want to act from that relative calm state. So that is the second tip. The third is, if you have this style, it's likely you don't know anything about boundaries. You don't know how to establish your boundaries, how to communicate them, how you want to build a relationship, how you want to be treated, what is okay with you and what is not okay with you. When you begin to establish boundaries, and you begin to learn that, it's like a little bit like it can be a little bit like a shaky little plane taking off. So it's difficult. So once again, your boundaries, the best way that you can establish them is, once again, you want to think about them. I want to think about boundaries from a calm state of mind, and you want to write them down specifically. Do a lot of journaling. So for example, if you're in a relationship and you notice that you get very emotionally activated, over something, take a time out and then write what it was that was very triggering to you, and whether whatever happened is a hardcore boundary violation. And if that is a boundary violation, you want to go back to your partner and you want to calmly communicate for your partner to not act the way that they acted, or not to treat you a particular way, or not to say certain things to you. So you want to express how you want to be treated, and that is establishing boundaries, and then you need to stick to them. So if you establish boundaries and your partner consistently violates them, then you need to learn when to walk away. So the other thing that people with disorganized attachment style, if you have that, it's probably very difficult for you to walk away from a relationship, even if you don't feel very good at it, even if it's abusive, and even if your boundaries are violated. Your boundaries are violated because you never set boundaries in the first place. So first, try to set boundaries. See if you can work it out. If you're constantly emotionally, if you're feeling very emotionally volatile, you're feeling very escalated, see if you can set boundaries that will help save the relationship and will help you establish how you want to get treated. See if your partner respects you enough to treat you the way that you want to be treated. And if it still doesn't happen, you need to learn how to walk away from the relationship and to trust that you are going to be okay. You're not going to be completely devastated if the relationship ends. Of course, it's very difficult when relationship ends, but you're going to be able to go back, work on yourself, and establish a new relationship, or be single for a while, and things are going to work out for you. So to have that level of trust. So those are the 3 tips. Practicing a lot of boundaries, taking a lot of time out for yourself to listen to your emotions, listen to what your emotions are telling you, to think about the appropriate behavior to go along with these emotions, and to learn and establish hard boundaries, and to know when to walk away if those boundaries are being consistently violated. So you need to love yourself enough with this one to be able to do this. Fearful disorganized attachment is very complex. There's a lot more that I can say about this, and I will be talking about it in future videos, so don't forget to subscribe. I hope you found these 3 tips useful. Comment below what you think, whether you like these tips, you don't like these tips, whether you tried some of them. Let me know what your challenges are if you have this style of attachment. And in the comments, you'll find my link to my 8-week workshop for adult children of alcoholics. Also a link to one-on-one coaching if you're interested in signing up with a consultation with me. As well as the link to the attachment style questionnaire, where you can determine your attachment style. And I hope you are going to have a wonderful week, and I'm going to see you in my upcoming videos. Take care.